Congresswoman Barbara Lee is from California. She was with the president in San Francisco. She's also the author of the new book, Renegade for Peace and Justice. Congresswoman, good to see you. You heard the president last night acknowledge that many of his supporters are frustrated. You're one of them, right?
Let me say, first of all, it's good to be with you this morning. I believe that the president has turned the country around, is moving in the right direction. Of course, there are many people who are still unemployed. When you look at the fact, first of all, that the unemployment rate has gone down, but in many communities, such as in the African-American community, for example, the unemployment rate has actually gone up to about 15.5%. One of the efforts that I'm working on with Congressman Bobby Scott from Virginia on is increase in unemployment compensation for a category of individuals who deserve unemployment compensation, and that's the 99ers, the chronically unemployed. There are millions of people in our country who have hit that wall of 99 weeks, and they deserve unemployment compensation. There are now 5 individuals looking for one job. That's the reality of what is taking place in our country. So until we can create jobs.
Do you support a limit on when, though, those unemployment benefits would end, or would just be open-ended?
I believe what we're doing in my bill, H.R. 589, we've added 14 weeks to the unemployment compensation benefit package. It's important that we add those 14 weeks because we're working very hard, at least Democrats are, to create jobs and turn the economy around. The president is working very hard on that. People deserve to have that safety net. And so we're saying that while there are 5 people looking for one job, this is not only the economic beneficial and prudent thing to do, but this is the morally correct thing to do. We need to help those people who have hit the wall and do the right thing. When people have unemployment and money in their pocket, that is the best way to stimulate the economy. They spend this money, and so this is the economically prudent thing to do also.
Congresswoman, a lot of people are hurting out there in the country, not just because they've lost their jobs or they're making less money in a different kind of job, and now they're paying higher gas prices. We see the New York Times, the poll this morning that reminds us how fed up most of Americans are, that 70% of Americans say we're headed on the wrong track in this country. And then a huge disapproval for President Obama. 57% disapprove of how he's handling the economy. What's the president not doing right?
Well, I think the president, as you said earlier, said, of course, sometimes he gets frustrated. But when you look at the fact that he inherited a huge deficit, first of all, the Bush administration, and yes, we have to remember how we got here. It's going to take a while to dig ourselves out of this hole. But when you look at the fact that the Obama administration has created 1.8 million jobs, the economy is beginning to slowly turn around. We're on going in the right direction. But I'm frustrated. Many are. I mean, it's unconscionable to see so many people unemployed. Also, so many more people are falling into poverty. And when you look at the Ryan budget and when you look at what the Republicans are doing in terms of their cuts, they're cutting the most vulnerable and the neediest. They want to make Medicare into a voucher program. They want to require as eligibility for food stamps that you enroll in a job training program, yet they want to cut job training programs by $4 billion. As I write in my book, I was on food stamps, so I know what that's about. People don't want to be on food stamps. They have to be just to survive and get over the hump. And so what we're seeing now are extreme budget cuts, which I don't support. Many of my colleagues don't support, because these budget cuts not only are going to erode the safety net, but they're going to ultimately end in a net job loss. And so we have to focus on reducing the deficit in a real way and creating jobs.
Congresswoman, there are some stories this morning in the LA Times out there in California where you are, that on the road the president has flashed frustration. He mentioned the word that he was frustrated with Washington several times in some of his appearance out there. What's the president's mood in your mind? Mike Allen with Post said, look for some stories that the president's quote unquote grumpy. Would you sense that the president was kind of fed up, was a little bit upset, was frustrated with Washington? How was his mood?
No, my sense is the president, and I heard him speak, and I've talked with him, and he's really moving forward. He knows that he has some tough decisions to make. He has a hard job. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. But I'm going to tell you what is taking place with the Republicans in Congress and some of these budget cuts and the framework and the dialogue and the narrative that is taking place, I don't believe is the correct narrative. And so I believe that the president has got to build support for economic recovery efforts that really create jobs. And that's the frustration which many of us have. We don't see enough jobs being created for the chronically unemployed and for those who need our help. And so that's what we have to do. And we have to protect Medicare for our senior citizens.
All right, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be with you.
And trivia time now. We asked you which congressman spent his